You put on your expensive clothes, drive your overpriced car, and proudly march into a dimly lit dining room acting like royalty. You genuinely believe that paying $100 for a meal creates a magical, invisible force field against kitchen bacteria. Spoiler alert, the salmonella doesn't care about your credit limit, and neither does the guy coughing over your soup. Welcome to the Premium Feeding Trough.
Welcome back to the theater of culinary illusions. Going out to a restaurant is supposed to be a luxury, a brief escape from cooking and washing dishes. But behind the swinging kitchen doors, past the ambient lighting and the polite smiles of the waitstaff, lies a chaotic, profit-driven machine that relies on your absolute ignorance. We want to believe that paying $50 for a steak guarantees pristine conditions and top-tier hygiene. It doesn't. Today, we are ripping the pristine white tablecloth off the restaurant industry. Here are 30 verified, uncompromising secrets chefs and corporate owners pray you never find out. Grab a menu, pull up a chair, and let's ruin your appetite. Fact 1. The moldy ice machines. Let's start with that incredibly refreshing, complimentary glass of ice water they immediately bring to your table the exact second you sit down. You naturally assume the ice is nothing more than frozen, highly purified drinking water. In reality, commercial restaurant ice machines are notorious, highly efficient breeding grounds for toxic black mold and a terrifyingly thick, pink bacterial slime. Why? Because properly cleaning an industrial ice maker is a labor-intensive nightmare, requiring a specialized technician to completely dismantle the heavy internal mechanics. Since this costs precious time and money, managers simply ignore it until the machine physically breaks down. Every time you ask for extra ice to cool your expensive cocktail, you are voluntarily playing a microscopic game of Russian roulette with active fungal colonies.
Order your drink neat to avoid respiratory distress.
Fact 2. The filthy lemon wedges. You love casually asking for a bright slice of lemon to make that plain tap water taste a little more premium. That innocent-looking yellow wedge is actually one of the most heavily contaminated biological hazards in the entire building. Rigorous scientific swabs of restaurant lemon rinds consistently reveal stomach-churning results, frequently including active fecal bacteria and severe respiratory pathogens. The life cycle of that lemon is a complete sanitation nightmare. Exhausted bartenders furiously slice these by the dozens at the start of their chaotic shift, never wearing protective gloves, and toss them into an open, unrefrigerated container right on the sticky bar counter. Everyone's unwashed hands frantically dip into that same container all night long. You might as well just lick the restaurant's front doorknob on your way out. The bacterial transfer is identical. Fact 3. The ghost kitchen scam. You decide to stay in for a relaxing evening and order delivery from a trendy, cool-sounding new craft burger joint you just discovered on your favorite food app. You happily pay a premium delivery fee, fully expecting a local, passionate artisan chef to carefully grill your meal. Congratulations, you just bought a microwaved dinner from a struggling, massive corporate chain restaurant. This is the highly deceptive ghost kitchen scam. Major, nationwide chains deliberately create fake, trendy-sounding, hyper-local restaurant brands purely online to trick you into buying their aging, frozen inventory. The food is prepared in the exact same commercial kitchen, by the same underpaid staff, using the exact same highly processed ingredients. It is a completely legal marketing illusion designed to expertly exploit your desire for authentic, local cuisine while draining your wallet. Fact 4. The today's special illusion. When the elegantly dressed waiter dramatically approaches your table and theatrically recites the chef's special of the evening, your brain is immediately tricked into imagining a sudden burst of culinary inspiration. Let's aggressively adjust your romantic expectations. In the brutal, unforgiving economics of restaurant inventory management, the special is almost always a desperate, calculated attempt to quickly liquidate aging, degrading inventory. It is the expensive cut of meat or the highly perishable seafood that will legally expire and end up rotting in the commercial dumpster by tomorrow morning. To mask the deteriorating texture and the slightly questionable aroma, The kitchen will violently drown the protein in heavy, overpowering spices and thick, creamy sauces. You aren't getting culinary inspiration, you are functioning as a highly profitable garbage disposal. Fact 5. The sick worker reality. You naturally expect the person handling your food to be in absolute peak physical health. But the hospitality industry runs on a deeply flawed system that guarantees the exact opposite. The vast majority of line cooks, dishwashers, and servers do not have any form of paid sick leave. If they do not clock in for their shift, they simply do not make rent that month. This creates a terrifying biological dynamic where desperate employees routinely show up to work sweating through severe fevers, battling the seasonal flu, or fighting off highly contagious stomach bugs. They are coughing inside the walk-in refrigerator and wiping their dripping noses right before carefully plating your expensive seafood pasta. When you eat out, you are relying entirely on the compromised immune system of an underpaid kitchen employee who simply cannot afford the luxury of staying home to recover. Fact 6. The recycled bread basket. That complimentary basket of warm bread is a beloved staple of traditional dining, a welcoming gesture to keep you perfectly happy while you wait for your meal. But commercial bread is a major operating expense, and corporate profit margins are razor thin. If the table sitting directly next to you leaves behind a few untouched rolls, do you really think the busboy is throwing those perfectly good carbohydrates in the trash? In many bustling establishments, those leftover rolls are quietly carried right back into the kitchen, briefly tossed in the warming oven to magically revive their texture, and immediately served to your table. You are breaking bread with total strangers, sharing a basket that has likely been breathed on, coughed near, and picked through by 3 different families before it reached you. Enjoy that warm, beautifully crusted illusion of hospitality. Fact 7. The Great Kobe Beef Con. You see a Kobe beef burger on the menu for $35 and genuinely think you are getting a highly affordable taste of ultimate Japanese luxury. You are being legally scammed right to your face. Genuine Kobe beef is one of the most strictly regulated agricultural products on the planet. It is incredibly rare, exported in tiny quantities, and costs hundreds of dollars per steak at the handful of elite U.S. restaurants authorized to actually sell it. The Wagyu or Kobe, proudly advertised at your local neighborhood bistro, is almost certainly a cheap, crossbred domestic cow. The restaurant industry actively exploits the total lack of trademark protection for these specific terms in the United States. You are simply paying a massive, entirely unjustified markup for regular, exceptionally fatty American ground beef dressed up with a fancy, misleading foreign title. Fact 8. The filthiest item on the table. You sit down, immediately grab the heavy laminated menu, and start excitedly browsing the appetizers. You have just touched the single most contaminated, biologically active surface in the entire building. Scientific studies consistently rank restaurant menus as harboring hundreds of times more bacteria than a public toilet seat. Think about it realistically. They are passed from customer to customer, table to table, shift after grueling shift. People read them before washing their hands, immediately after sneezing, and while trying to manage sticky, coughing toddlers. Despite this endless, horrifying chain of biological transfer, menus are almost never properly sanitized. They might get a quick, lazy wipe with a dirty rag if someone visibly spills a drink, but otherwise, you are holding a heavily handled microbial sponge right before eating your finger food. Fact 9. The deceptive junk fees. You calculate the generous tip in your head, feeling like a responsible adult, until you look closely at the bottom of the receipt and notice a mysterious 3 to 5% surcharge. It might be creatively labeled a health and wellness fee, a kitchen appreciation surcharge, or a sudden inflation adjustment. This is not a state tax, it is a calculated, deeply cynical corporate maneuver. Instead of simply raising the actual menu prices by $1 to properly pay their staff a livable wage, which might scare you away, management quietly sneaks these mandatory junk fees into the tiny fine print. They are deliberately transferring their fundamental payroll responsibilities directly onto your shoulders at the very last second. It is a psychological trick designed to make your meal seem far cheaper than it actually is until you are already locked into paying the bill. Fact 10. The Hollandaise Time Bomb Sunday brunch is an absolute American institution, and a rich Eggs Benedict is always the undisputed star of the show. But that creamy Hollandaise sauce poured luxuriously over your poached eggs is a bacterial ticking time bomb. Traditional Hollandaise is an unstable emulsion of raw egg yolks and warm, clarified butter. Because it violently breaks and separates if it gets too hot, and solidifies into a brick if it gets too cold, kitchens must hold it at a lukewarm room temperature for hours at a time. This specific, highly regulated temperature zone is an absolute biological paradise for explosive salmonella growth. If you are ordering your relaxing brunch late in the afternoon, that creamy sauce has likely been sitting in a plastic container on a warm counter since 8 in the morning, quietly cultivating a massive colony of foodborne pathogens just for your plate.
10 secrets down, and I bet your stomach is already doing Olympic-level gymnastics. The absolute best part of this scam? You actually leave a 20% tip for the distinct privilege of eating recycled bread and bacterial butter. You are so adorably generous when you are completely oblivious. Go ahead, take a deep breath and sip your whiskey. Let's see if your immune system survives the main course. We are just getting started.
Fact 11. The fake truffle oil. Truffle fries sound like a highly sophisticated upgrade, an affordable taste of high-end European dining sprinkled right onto your casual American appetizer. The cynical, uncompromising truth is that you are paying a massive premium for a beautifully bottled chemical lie. Commercial truffle oil contains absolutely zero actual truffles. It is nothing more than the cheapest, lowest-grade olive or canola oil heavily spiked with a highly concentrated synthetic compound called 2,4-dithiapentane. This laboratory-created chemical perfectly and aggressively mimics the pungent, earthy aroma of real truffles, completely tricking your brain into thinking you are eating a rare, luxury ingredient. Real chefs secretly despise the stuff because it violently overpowers everything on the plate, but greedy restaurant owners absolutely love the incredible, skyrocketing profit margins of selling you a literal bottle of synthetic perfume. Fact 12. The well-done steak dumpster. When you proudly order an expensive steak cooked completely well done, you are loudly signaling to the kitchen staff that you have absolutely no interest in the natural flavor, moisture, or tender texture of the meat. Line cooks hear this specific order and immediately smile because you just effortlessly solved their pressing inventory problem. They will intentionally bypass the fresh, beautifully marbled cuts and aggressively dig to the very back of the commercial fridge to find the oldest, toughest, and most heavily oxidized piece of beef available. They mathematically know that incinerating the meat on a high-heat grill until it physically resembles a piece of dry shoe leather will effectively destroy any lingering evidence of extreme aging or poor quality. You are voluntarily paying a premium price to happily eat the exact steak they were aggressively planning to throw in the garbage tomorrow. Fact 13. The never-ending ketchup bottles. You sit down at a casual neighborhood diner and immediately grab the classic glass bottle of ketchup, assuming it is a completely fresh, sterile condiment. Welcome to the highly disgusting, completely unregulated restaurant practice universally known as marrying bottles. At the end of a grueling, chaotic shift, exhausted waitstaff absolutely do not throw away half-empty ketchup bottles or carefully wash them out with hot water. Instead, they quickly and lazily pour the leftover contents of several old bottles directly into a newer one to expertly make it look completely full for the next day's customers. This means the dark, crusty ketchup congealing at the very bottom of that glass bottle might literally be months old, continuously mixing with a constantly replenished top layer. You are deeply dipping your hot fries into a multi-generational, unwashed vat of fermented tomato sludge. Fact 14. The decoy pricing trap. You open a massive leather-bound menu and immediately spot a towering seafood platter or a massive dry-aged tomahawk steak priced at a staggering $150. You scoff at the sheer absurdity of the price, then quickly order the $45 chicken dish, feeling like a highly responsible, frugal adult. You just fell completely for a calculated, highly effective psychological manipulation called decoy pricing. The restaurant never actually expected you to buy that ridiculous seafood tower. Corporate marketers placed it there specifically to aggressively anchor your brain to a ridiculously high number. By flawlessly establishing that massive baseline, the deeply overpriced $45 chicken suddenly feels like a completely rational, highly affordable bargain. You absolutely did not save money. You played right into the hands of brilliant behavioral economists. Fact 15. The moldy soda faucets. You decide to skip the expensive alcohol and order a refreshing fountain soda, completely trusting the clean, heavily branded dispensing machine standing behind the counter. The dark, incredibly sticky secret lies directly inside the tiny plastic nozzles where the dense syrup and carbonated water actually mix. Because these active machines dispense pure, highly concentrated liquid sugar all day long, they are absolute, uncompromising magnets for airborne bacteria, wild yeast, and thick black mold. Properly cleaning them requires the exhausted staff to manually unscrew and chemically sanitize dozens of tiny parts every single night. In reality, underpaid workers simply wipe the outside plastic with a dirty rag and go home. When you take a sip of that icy cola, you are frequently drinking a highly concentrated, sugary wash of actively growing fungal spores harvested straight from the hidden nozzle. Fact 16. The calorie count fiction. If you are meticulously counting calories to maintain your physical health, ordering from a corporate chain restaurant menu is a completely futile, deeply frustrating exercise. The FDA generously allows a staggering 20% margin of error for legally printed calorie counts, but the brutal reality in the busy kitchen is far worse. Line cooks are aggressively focused on raw speed and maximum flavor, not your personal diet plan. They absolutely do not carefully measure melted butter with a sterile teaspoon or perfectly weigh a serving of ranch dressing. They violently splash heavy oils and dense creams directly into the hot pan by the heavy handful. That 400-calorie grilled chicken salad you ordered to stay disciplined is easily carrying twice the caloric load in hidden liquid fats alone. You are steadily gaining weight while legally being told you are successfully dieting. Fact 17. The homemade microwave meals. You visit a cozy, heavily decorated, mid-priced chain restaurant, deeply craving a comforting, homemade bowl of macaroni and cheese or a rich, complex soup. You are actually paying a massive $20 markup for a glorified, industrially processed TV dinner. The vast majority of heavy appetizers, creamy soups, and decadent desserts at these establishments are absolutely not cooked from scratch by a passionate chef. They are mass-produced in giant industrial factories, pumped into heavy plastic bags, frozen completely solid, and shipped across the country by massive food distributors like Cisco. The kitchen staff simply drops these heavy plastic bags into a vat of boiling water to quickly thaw them, tears them open, and sloppily plates them. You are dining at a highly efficient, incredibly profitable reheating facility, masquerading as a traditional culinary establishment. Fact 18. The vegan cross-contamination. You proudly order a strict vegan appetizer, like crispy cauliflower bites or classic potato fries, feeling morally superior and exceptionally healthy. What the glossy menu doesn't explicitly tell you is that the incredibly cramped kitchen only has 2 deep fryers to handle a massive, chaotic dinner rush. Your pristine, plant-based vegetables are being aggressively plunged into the exact same vat of boiling, dark brown cooking oil that was just used to fry 50 orders of chicken wings, mozzarella sticks, and heavily battered fish. The extreme, bubbling heat expertly cross-contaminates absolutely everything. You are essentially eating your expensive vegetables heavily bathed in a rich, highly concentrated broth of animal fat and degraded meat proteins. Your strict dietary restrictions are a complete, comforting illusion in the brutal reality of a busy commercial kitchen. Fact 19. The Fresh Fish Monday Mistake. Ordering the expensive seafood special on a quiet Monday evening is the absolute ultimate rookie mistake in the sophisticated dining world. Commercial fish suppliers generally do not make fresh deliveries on the weekends. This firmly means the restaurant receives its final fresh catch of the week on Thursday or Friday morning to perfectly prepare for the massive, highly profitable weekend crowds. By the time you sit down on Monday night, that piece of expensive halibut or delicate salmon has been quietly degrading in the back of the walk-in refrigerator for at least 4 solid days. To expertly hide the increasingly potent, fishy odor and rapidly deteriorating texture, the chef will heavily disguise it with aggressive citrus glazes or incredibly spicy, overpowering sauces. You are paying top dollar for aging inventory that is exactly 1 day away from the garbage can. Fact 20. The disgusting waiter's rag. You sit down at a newly bussed table, admiring the clean, shiny surface before comfortably resting your bare hands and silverware directly on it. You are entirely unaware of the horrifying biological journey of the damp cloth used to wipe it down just moments before. During a chaotic, understaffed rush, waitstaff expertly use the exact same wet rag to eagerly wipe up spilled milk from a filthy high chair, clean sticky maple syrup off a booth seat, and catch falling, heavily chewed food debris. Instead of constantly exchanging it for a freshly sterilized towel, they simply dunk it in a plastic bucket of lukewarm, increasingly murky sanitizer water and keep going. That quick wipe didn't actually clean your table. It evenly and perfectly distributed a thin, highly concentrated smear of bacteria from 50 other strangers directly onto your dining space right before your food arrived.
20 secrets in, and you're still thinking about that innocent side salad you had on Tuesday, aren't you? Let it go. The bacteria legally own it now. You walk into these places treating the staff like your personal servants, while behind those heavy doors, they are playing three-dimensional biological chess with your immune system, and you don't even know the rules. Let's serve up the final course, assuming you haven't lost your appetite completely.
Fact 21. The local and organic wash. You see the words locally sourced and certified organic beautifully printed in a rustic, earthy font on the menu, and you immediately feel a deep, comforting sense of nutritional superiority. You are paying a massive premium for a calculated linguistic loophole. In the completely unregulated Wild West of restaurant marketing, if a massive, factory-farmed salad contains exactly one single slice of a locally grown organic tomato, the restaurant can legally and proudly label the entire overpriced dish as a local organic salad. They are aggressively exploiting your earnest desire to support small farmers and eat cleanly, while the vast majority of the ingredients on your heavy plate were actually trucked in from a massive, highly industrialized corporate wholesale warehouse 3 states away. You are not saving the planet or your body. You are just blindly funding a brilliant marketing illusion disguised as environmental consciousness. Fact 22. The heavy sauce deception. When you order a delicate piece of fish or a premium cut of meat, and it arrives completely buried under a thick, heavily seasoned cream sauce or a violently pungent garlic glaze, you should immediately be suspicious. In the ruthless culinary world, heavily opaque, overpoweringly strong sauces are the ultimate, highly effective culinary camouflage. If a piece of expensive protein is hovering dangerously close to its expiration date, beginning to develop a slightly sour odor or a profoundly unappetizing grayish color, the chef will absolutely not throw it away and lose the profit. Instead, they will expertly smother the degrading evidence in a rich, heavily spiced blanket of dairy and sodium. You are happily licking your fork clean, completely unaware that you are enthusiastically consuming aging, deteriorating inventory, perfectly masked by a heavy, buttery disguise. Fact 23. The second cheapest wine trap. You want to enjoy a nice bottle of wine with your dinner, but you also want to be a financially responsible adult. You open the massive wine list, instinctively skip the absolute cheapest, embarrassing bottle at the very top, and confidently order the second cheapest option to maintain your dignity. Congratulations, you just fell into the most profitable, highly calculated trap in the entire beverage industry. Restaurant owners mathematically understand human psychology perfectly. They know you are deeply terrified of looking cheap in front of your date or business partners. Therefore, they deliberately take the absolute worst, lowest quality wholesale wine in their entire inventory, often cheaper than the actual bottom-tier bottle, and aggressively mark up the price to place it exactly in that second slot. You are paying a massive, unjustified premium strictly for the fragile illusion of your own social status. Fact 24. The filthy free bar snacks. You sit down at the dimly lit, crowded bar and immediately grab a handful of those salty, complimentary peanuts or crunchy pretzels waiting in a little glass bowl. You are actively dipping your hands into a communal biological hazard. Those seemingly innocent free snacks are almost never thrown away at the end of the night. Dozens of highly intoxicated people, many of whom absolutely did not properly wash their hands after visiting the restroom, have aggressively plunged their sweaty, unwashed fingers into that exact same bowl for hours. Instead of dumping the contaminated remnants, exhausted bartenders simply dump a fresh, new layer of snacks right on top of the old, bacteria-laden foundation. You aren't just enjoying a free, salty appetizer with your expensive beer. You are participating in a highly efficient, multi-person microbial exchange program. Fact 25. The meat slicer nightmare. You order a massive, towering deli sandwich piled incredibly high with beautifully thin slices of roast beef and turkey, assuming the kitchen is a sterile environment. The terrifying biological reality lies deep inside the heavy industrial meat slicer used to prepare your meal. These massive, highly complex machines are incredibly dangerous and notoriously difficult to properly clean. They are completely filled with microscopic crevices, heavy gears, and sharp blade guards. During a chaotic lunch rush, hurried workers do not have the time to completely dismantle and chemically sanitize the machine between every single use. Microscopic fragments of raw meat, fat, and cheese get permanently blasted deep into these tiny mechanical cracks, quietly rotting for days or even weeks. This creates a perfect, undisturbed breeding ground for listeria, flawlessly transferred to every fresh slice of meat. Fact 26. The Chef Mike reality. You proudly brag to your friends about the incredible, piping hot, perfectly cooked side dishes and decadent molten chocolate cake at your favorite mid-tier restaurant. Behind the swinging doors, the kitchen staff jokingly refers to their most valuable, hardest-working employee as Chef Mike. Chef Mike is not a culinary genius trained in France. Chef Mike is a massive, heavy-duty commercial microwave oven capable of blasting food with intense, highly concentrated radiation. In modern, high-volume dining establishments, the microwave sees far more aggressive action than the actual stovetop. Perfectly steamed vegetables, complex rice pilafs, and hot, gooey desserts are not being expertly crafted to order. They are being furiously nuked in plastic containers for exactly 90 seconds before being sloppily transferred to your warm porcelain plate. Fact 27. The table turnover freeze. You are trying to enjoy a deeply romantic, lingering anniversary dinner, but you suddenly notice the dining room music is playing at a slightly frantic, aggressively upbeat tempo, and the air conditioning is blasting an uncomfortable, freezing Arctic chill directly onto your neck. This is not a broken thermostat or a hyperactive DJ. It is a highly calculated, aggressive environmental manipulation. Restaurant managers refer to this as maximizing the table turnover rate. When the dining room is packed and highly profitable reservations are waiting in the lobby, the management will deliberately make your physical environment subtly hostile. The fast music subconsciously forces you to chew and talk much faster, while the freezing temperature eliminates your desire to sit back and relax. They are actively freezing you out to force you to pay the bill and surrender the table. Fact 28. The decaf coffee lie. You finish a heavy, exhausting dinner late in the evening and politely order a cup of decaffeinated coffee, desperately hoping to get a good night's sleep before your busy morning. If the restaurant is slammed and in the middle of a chaotic, high-stress dinner rush, the exhausted server has a very dark, incredibly simple secret. Brewing a completely fresh, separate pot of decaf coffee takes precious time they absolutely do not have. Instead of making you wait, the server will frequently grab the standard, highly caffeinated coffee pot and confidently pour it directly into your mug with a polite, reassuring smile. They fundamentally prioritize their table turnover speed and their immediate tip over your central nervous system's need to rest. You are actively drinking a massive dose of hidden caffeine, guaranteeing you will be staring at your bedroom ceiling until 3 a.m. Fact 29. The 5-second rule is corporate policy. You genuinely believe that commercial kitchens operate under the strict, uncompromising sanitary guidelines of a surgical operating room. The brutal, unsanitary truth of the chaotic kitchen line is completely dictated by pure panic and the desperate need for speed. If an incredibly expensive prime steak, a beautifully garnished side of asparagus, or a perfectly toasted artisan bun slips and falls directly onto the greasy, heavily trafficked floor during the peak of the dinner rush, it is rarely thrown into the garbage. As long as there is no visible dirt or hair immediately clinging to the food, the panicked chef will swiftly snatch it off the dirty tile, quickly wipe it off with a damp towel, and aggressively plate it for service. In the ruthless heat of the kitchen, the mythical 5-second rule isn't a joke. It is an unspoken, highly profitable standard operating procedure. Fact 30. The fresh squeezed juice deception. You order an outrageously expensive $12 glass of freshly squeezed orange or grapefruit juice to perfectly complement your organic Sunday brunch, completely imagining a dedicated worker manually pressing fresh citrus fruit in the back room. Let's aggressively shatter that wholesome illusion. Unless you can physically see the heavy mechanical juicer crushing the fruit directly in front of your very eyes on the bar, that premium juice is almost certainly being poured directly out of a massive, heavily processed commercial gallon jug purchased at a massive wholesale discount. Restaurants legally use incredibly deceptive wording on their menus, expertly exploiting the massive gray area between juice that was freshly squeezed this morning and juice that was pasteurized and squeezed in an industrial factory 3 weeks ago. You are paying a massive premium for a cheap grocery store beverage. Well, look at you. You actually survived all 30 courses of uncompromising culinary terror. I hope you enjoyed digesting the miserable truth about your favorite dining spots. You confidently fund a bacteria-ridden corporate machine, but hey, I'm sure that $30 plate of microwaved pasta is totally worth the gastrointestinal distress. The industry thrives on your desperate need for convenience and willful ignorance. So, before you mindlessly tap your phone to order more ghost kitchen garbage, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling us which secret finally broke your spirit today, and remember, stay completely, unapologetically paranoid. We'll be watching your next meal.